What's up, Liron here. Thank you for joining me in another video. Over the weekend, I painted what I think is my first serious attempt at a more detailed night scene, or a late evening scene, and it came with a lot of challenges, and I do want to share some of what I was up to and how I approached it. I do want to wish you a happy holiday. I hope you're enjoying it, and if you're not celebrating, then have an awesome normal day. So let's take it to the table, and I'm going to talk a bit about how I did it. So here it is in its full glory, and I want to talk a bit about the process and some of the different techniques or crutches I used that worked for me for this one, because it's a very different process from what I know if I compare it to most of my paintings. So first, what I wanted to do was start with an initial wash covering everything up. So I covered it with a bit of blue, some yellow on the sides, and then reds, lots of reds here. Because I wanted the light from the taillights of the cars to really shine. Now, after I finished with the first wash and it dried, I actually took my masking tape and taped it over some highlights, just selected a few highlights. Now, why did I wait for the second wash? Because I wanted the initial highlight I'm protecting to already have a bit of yellow to it or a bit of red. So instead of masking the paper, then doing the initial wash, I first did the initial wash very light, then masked it so that you can see it's a very similar technique to what I showed you, I believe, in the last video with the trees. I hope that I scheduled them in that order, because I wanted this to have a slight red tint, this to have a slight yellow tint. You see what I mean? Then I put the tape and I continued with a darker wash for the sky, very dark wash for the bottom areas, and I covered mostly everything very freely. Okay, I didn't limit myself too much. I also, when this dried, I lifted back the tape and scrubbed back some of the area around using a synthetic brush, my Princeton brush. And what this helped me was to soften the round. I just put a round tape, masking tape over the paper, and then I softened the edges with the brush. So what ended up happening, I got nice soft lights. On top of those, I added a lot of opaque paint. So this is the John Brilliant, the one I got of the PWC. It's opaque. Where is it? Here we go. It's opaque, which is a good thing for this kind of use. And it has a warm tint, which I love. I didn't want an artificial white or a cool white. So I added these, and you see this is a nice trick. These lines, the movement lines, make it feel like the light is either refracting or we're in motion. And I use that all over the place here as well. So for these, I actually used the Pyrrole Scarlet by Daniel Smith, one of my all-time favorite colors for these types of effects. It's a very light color straight out of the tube, so you get this beautiful, interesting effect here going on. And yeah, this is pretty much it for the process. Now, I had to really readjust kind of the way I think about it to get it to look the way it looks, because the dark night scenes or sunset scenes, the mid values and highlights are very dominant, but mostly the highlights. All the rest is just from the middle of the value scale and to the dark. So instead of playing in the lights, you play in the dark here. So that's a very different concept to grasp. Now I want to talk about two things. Here I had to lighten up a very dark paint that I already applied, but not with a highlight. So what I did was I mixed this very thickly with some water, and then I just applied it over it opaquely, and you can see it here. You notice this line? So I literally glazed it over it in a very opaque manner, just to get a lighter wash on top, and it can be done. So you kind of use these like gouache. A second thing I want to mention, and this is, I think, really, really cool, and I think my alarm clock is going to go off in a minute, so I'm just going to shut it down. Another really cool thing is how to get these highlights to look good. So, and not that I got them the best, I'm still learning, but what happens is in the center, it's actually white. It can be very misleading, and I'm going to show you the reference photo, obviously. It can be very misleading because you think it's red, you know it's red, but it's actually a very light white. What makes it look red is the red that's in close proximity to it. So here on the side and the very opaque paint up top. Same goes for this, same goes for all of these lights. Some of them I mixed the white and red together to create some nice effects, but generally speaking, the center of the highlight is almost pure white, almost, not entirely, almost. and the outside of it is what hints at its true color. And that's something that I had to look long and hard on the reference photo to have a grasp of, to really understand, okay? Now, I have a tendency to go very blue with my darks, just because they usually are based on blues. This is something I'm thinking of how to fix, maybe with neutral tint, maybe with something else that will allow me to go dark, but also warmer, should I want to. Now, finally, the final touches was all of these smaller highlights that I absolutely love. Notice how it really, I think, reads like light reflecting from the surface of the car and back to us, the viewer. And I think overall this works really well. A couple of things I'd like to improve for next time is have the sky wash a little less overworked, okay, just a bit, and maybe nail these contrasts the right time. Put more emphasis on both warm and cool shadows, because this is very dominated by blues, and perhaps going a little more accurate with the drawing, because here it's, I don't know if it's harder to get away with because it's a dark scene, but some of the cars are a little crooked, some things here could be patched up, and I think could be planned better, like this car here is a bit of a mess. This car here, no, this is actually nice looking. This car here, some of them are a bit messy, and I'd like to improve them for next time. But overall, I really enjoyed making this one. I think it's a great first attempt at a very dark scene, something I'm very not accustomed to, very unaccustomed to. And overall, I'm very happy with it. I hope you enjoyed seeing it up close and just me sharing with you the challenge I went through in making this. And as a first attempt, you'll always mess up, so feel free to mess up often, as I mentioned in most of my recent videos. By the way, just as a last stage, I added all of these, the small details of the cars with a regular brush or a very thin brush, and these really help to bring this all together. But in any case, I hope you enjoyed this one. Now let's wrap it up. So this is it for this one. I hope you enjoyed seeing and learning how I painted it. I do recommend you try it out. Try tackling night scenes if you never tried it. Try doing as many things you never tried really in painting, because it really widens our horizons. You know that you are capable of doing it if you want to, and it's just great fun, I think, to break our own patterns. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you so much. Wish you again a happy holiday and a happy new year really soon. And don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and also comment down below your thoughts. This really helps and tells YouTube this dude is doing a good job. So if you can help me that way, I would really appreciate it in the spirit of the holiday. And with that being said, I will see you again in the next vid.